Let me get this pulled up. Let me know if you can hear me okay. You've got a couple of options for interacting. One is the chat. You can feel free to make any comments or anything there. And then the other is questions. If you have a question, you can throw that into the Q&A area, and I'll be sure to get to that. We'll have a great interactive time at the end where you can ask questions, all that good stuff. You can feel free throughout the call to go ahead and plug those in there. And I'll make sure that everybody gets their questions answered. Some of you guys I see have been on calls with me before. Some of what we're going to go over today, we'll be reviewing. Then there's some new things because the market is always changing, and that's what makes it a lot of fun. So let's go over what we're going to talk about today. Basically, I've kind of learned over my last 18 years that what people are looking for when they're starting a business is to get to the point where they're generating enough income to be able to do what they want. And that's what we're going to talk about. How can you skip over the headache of trying to build something from scratch that's going to get you the income you want and kind of go straight to the income? And we do that by buying businesses. You know, I've spent the last 8 years now helping people buy businesses, and have seen a stark contrast over those 8 years of people moving from buying offline businesses, and even 8 years ago, we were doing a lot of internet deals, to people coming in even thinking that they wanted to buy an internet business or an offline business, I'm sorry, and realizing that through the process as they look at internet business, like, wow, why would I deal with the headache of an offline business? It makes so much more sense to buy these internet businesses. They're scalable. I can run them from anywhere. I don't have to have as many employees. I'm not dealing with all the overhead, all of these amazing benefits that come with getting that internet-based deal. So what's happened is we built some really great case studies over the last 8 years, just showing over and over that this is a systematic thing, which is pretty funny because I remember, I did my first deal when I was 19. And I remember I had a mentor who mentioned, like, man, maybe you should find some other people, some partners you can train, you can invest in their deals to grow your portfolio. And I was like, I don't think anybody else can really do this stuff. And fortunately, I proved myself wrong. We've got tons and tons of case studies over on YouTube. We've proven over and over, helped over 100 people get into businesses, bought businesses alongside of them, and partnered with a lot of folks on deals. And there's some really awesome stories. So I would encourage you to go to YouTube, search things Chapman, and you can see some of those stories. There are guys like Jason Ashcroft. We helped him. He was the guy who came in, wanted a manufacturing business. And one of the things that I do is I encourage people that are coming to me and they want to do a certain kind of deal. And, I encourage them to look at everything. And so he contacted me thinking, just had some questions about manufacturing. And I told him, like, hey, look at internet deals as well. And he actually had the opportunity to go into a manufacturing business and do some work there, and quickly realized, like, wait a minute, I don't want to do that. He became a part of what we do, and we did a deal together where we got him into a business that ended up quadrupling. It was just a internet-based content blog that was generating some amazing money, and grew it to basically 4 times what he bought it at. And he was able to quit his job just with that one deal that we helped him get into. There are guys like Jared, who has a great video that we did together from Australia. Jared was a guy who was a plumber, and he would take off a good amount of time and go travel and spend a bunch of time in Egypt and Europe and all these places, and Asia. But at the end of it, he would have to come back, and he was like, man, it'd be amazing, instead of me working really hard to save up money to go and kind of take off and do an international walkabout, what if I worked really, really hard and bought a deal and came across what we were up to. We connected, and he basically did some work. We got him into a business, and then he got into another deal, and used what we're going to talk about as far as the income snowball to essentially be able to go on a permanent vacation. So he permanently quit his job and started traveling the world. And last time I talked to him, he was in Asia. Then I saw a post, he was in Colombia. So he's having an amazing time, and it's the freedom that comes with not trying to start something from scratch. And I'm going to go over just some of the reasons why. But Jared, for example, is a young guy, young 20s, and he was able to work as a plumber, save up a little bit of cash, have a little bit of skin in the game, because that's required, and then work with us. We got a deal put together so that he was able to quit his job. We even have, if you go over, you can check out Steve's testimonial. Young guy's 18, helped him get into his first deal. I think he's on to his second deal. And so that's what we're gonna be talking about with you guys, is how you can work with us, leverage our system, leverage our people, our team, to start to generate income. And the real goal of all of this, if any of you have read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the real goal of all of this is that, a lot of people focus on getting out of the E quadrant. And basically you've got those four quadrants. You've got the employee, you've got the self-employed, you've got the business, and you've got the investor. And a lot of people that are an employee, they just think, man, if I can just get out of this job, get rid of my boss, and move to the self-employed quadrant, I will be so much happier. And then they do that, and they get into that self-employed quadrant and realize, oh my goodness, what a headache. I've got one employee, that's me. I'm doing all the work. Everything is up to me. I'm having to do additional work with filings and keeping up with, just marketing and finance and operations. Whereas before, all I had to do was just my job. And, I'm not making that much money. I need to move to the B quadrant. And finally, they get to the B quadrant. And, it's like, oh, this is supposed to be happy days. I finally got employees, but those employees become headaches. And, you're dealing with all the other headaches that come with running a business. And the real goal, and what I realized was, we want to get to that I quadrant. And I don't think enough people realize you can go straight from the E quadrant to the I quadrant and be able to skip over those in between steps, which really have a lot of headaches tied to them. So today's call is going to be interactive. We'll have some time at the end. I definitely want you guys to ask questions and make any comments. And start with me telling you a little bit about me for the folks that may not have seen any of my videos or anything like that, or heard me on the podcast. So I've been doing this since 1999. I bought my very first deal at 19. I was a broke college kid and was able to come up with a little bit of skin in the game. And that's what I think is the big confusion. I think a lot of people think that, you are going to start a business, it's not going to cost anything, but it really does cost something. So you still have skin in the game. And I was able to put together a small amount of skin in the game, and that got me into this world of buying and selling businesses. Since then, I've been interviewed over 100 times on different programs. We've documented over 100 acquisitions where I've partnered with clients, and you guys are going to have the opportunity to do that. I personally right now own 30 deals myself. I manage a $10 million fund, which actually raised $12 million, but it's kind of initial, officially a $10 million fund. And I've been doing this for 18 years, which every time I say that, I'm like, man, I feel way too young. I remember when I was 18. So now to think that I've been doing something for 18 years is just unbelievable, because it doesn't seem like that long ago that I was actually 18 years old. So we'll talk a little bit about some of my experiences, what I've learned, and my goal is for you guys to leave today enriched from this whole process. I'm not here to convince you of anything. I want to present where I see things today, the opportunity, the huge opportunity that I see that exists in the market right now, and allow you guys to decide if what we're doing is right for you. I only want to work with people that are like really get what we're doing and are really excited about it. There's no reason, and for any of you guys who are running any kind of business, no reason to work with anybody who isn't excited to work with you, or that you aren't excited to work with. Life is just too short for anything less. So for some folks, when I talk about acquiring businesses, going out, finding income, and just buying it, it seems like a new strategy because every podcast we hear, every blog we read, all the Instagram posts are all about going out, being that entrepreneur, being that hustler, and starting something from scratch, because that is the cool thing to do. And as with anything in life, it's usually not the cool thing that makes the most money. So everybody now is going to be an influencer. It's like, okay, that's not really the cool thing. That's not really the financially wise thing to do, even if it is the cool thing to do. And so right now, everybody's starting a business. Everybody's an entrepreneur. And I hear Gary Vee talk about this, but I remember, when I was 19 and I told people, this is before Mark Zuckerberg, this is like 1998. Like, this is before it was a cool thing to go out and start an internet business. And I quit college after I bought my first deal. And people were like, are you out of your mind? You're in a top 20 university. You've got a full ride. You must be completely crazy. I remember my personal friends, I had a girl that I was kind of dating, and I remember vividly, some of you guys who are on this call are going to remember AOL Instant Messenger. And I remember we were talking back and forth on Instant Messenger. I was telling her, I'm going to be able to pull this thing off, and da-da-da. It's just like, you're crazy. I can't believe you're quit school. You're definitely going to bankrupt. And I just remember her saying that word. It's like what? Like, how could you say that? It's like, you're going to bankrupt and ruin your life. So thank goodness I did not listen to all that noise back then. And I took the risk and went on this path. The really cool thing is that while entrepreneurship is cool, nobody's kind kind of about buying the existing businesses. And that's what creates a lot of this opportunity. It's kind of the efficient method. Like, if you want something, go straight to it. If you want income, then just go figure out how to buy the income. So it's not a new strategy. When you look through history, you look at guys like J.P. Morgan. This is what he really did, that built a substantial amount of income, was taking over other businesses. Carnegie realized, like, hey, I can't just go out and start things and build a tremendous amount of wealth. I've got to buy the businesses that have already figured it out. I don't want to have to figure it out each time. Rockefeller, same thing. The empire was really built by buying other businesses. And then today, a lot of people think that Warren Buffett invests in the stock market, and you don't get to that level of wealth. Like, you can make hundreds of millions, maybe even a billion, but you don't get to Warren Buffett money just playing around in the stock market. You got to own the business, and you got to use what we call this kind of snowball income effect. Warren Buffett, one of the most detailed things in his biography is this. The book is actually called Snowball. But our goal is to take income and then snowball it into a larger income. And I'll break that down in a bit. So what they realized is they need to be able to get into a business. They need to be able to have an impact on how that business is grown. And so they need to own it, not just be an investor. What we're seeing today is really interesting, because even the stock market in general, and I did a little video the other day on YouTube about this, the idea originally was that shareholders would have an impact on the business that they were owners in. And originally, everybody owned stock. They were part of the voting. People were really involved. And there was this connection where the board and the CEO were held accountable. What's happened is Wall Street has kind of turned into this big industry where you have pension funds, you have mutual fund managers, you have hedge fund managers, you have all the folks that are really money managers and financial advisors. All these people are in between the person who actually is putting their money up and the management of these these companies. And so one of the reasons that people don't even make as much as they could with their stock is that these CEOs have the freedom to buy the private jets and spend company money on vacation houses. And then they take the fund managers and the pension fund managers and the financial advisors, all these people, on the private jet to the vacation home. And so why would those people hold them accountable? So it's shifted where the shareholders have no direct connection to the investments that they're in, and everybody's making money off of your money and spending like crazy. Wall Street's making a crazy amount of money off your money. You have no control over it. The companies are out spending your money like crazy, and they give you a very paltry return at the end. So the closer you are to the asset that's making you money, the better off you're going to be. It's one of the reasons that, if you don't do something like what we're talking about, it's like at least do something like real estate. Now, you don't even get the 40% returns that we get annually, but you're still a lot closer to that investment. And that's the real goal is, if you want to be like these guys, you don't want to necessarily compete with them. It's when you talk about private equity or buying businesses, this is the most consistent path to billions. The really awesome thing is that when you're in that game, you've got to compete with the guys on Wall Street. You got to compete with the Buffetts of the world. But in the lane that we're in, dealing with these small businesses, there aren't any sophisticated competitors out there. So we can really cherry pick some amazing deals, get some great returns that aren't being beat down by the guys in private equity coming in. Now, what we're seeing is that they are starting to come into the internet space now. We've seen multiple start to go up because of that. And this is kind of why one of the reasons I'm partnering with more people, and we'll talk about the opportunity to partner with us and leverage our management team a little bit later, but it's the reason that I raised the fund. I was retired. I was living in the Caribbean, kind of chilling, doing my thing, and I started seeing a lot more chatter about what's going on in the space that we're in, buying these small little internet businesses, because it's unheard of on Wall Street to consistently be able to make 40%. And I realized, like, hey, now is the time. This thing is really about to blow up. I've been doing it, like I said, for 18 years, and it's kind of been this very quiet thing. I've made some good money. It's been neat, but it's ready to. A lot of big league people are coming in, and we're going to see the people that are buying deals now be able to sell them at some amazing multiples 3-4 years from now. So that's why I came back from the Caribbean, came kind of out of my little semi-retirement, raised a $12 million fund, and kind of doubling down and partnering with guys like you to go out, buy up, cherry pick the very best deals that are coming to market so that we can take advantage of this opportunity. Because what private equity realizes is that they know the system works, and they're fighting over deals that will just give a 10% return, because then they use some leverage and can turn that into an amazing 20% return. But if they can find deals that are doing 30% returns and add some leverage to it, that becomes absolutely unreal. And we've proved it over and over. I mean, we know that it exists. It's the reason that we were able to pull together a fund, and they went, when we were doing all that, they went through our history and went to see, okay, let's look at the failures, let's look at the successes. And we've done over 100 deals. We've had 3 go bad, and that's a pretty amazing return. We've had about 4 others that they didn't go all the way bad, but they also didn't really perform to expectation. And, when you look at those numbers compared to what they're used to, it's absolutely crazy. I mean, especially if you compare it to like venture capital or anything like that. There is a reason why we look at the number of billion-dollar private equity funds versus billion-dollar venture capital firms. It's about a 50 to 1. There are 50 times the number of billion-dollar private equity funds, because it's a very systematic process. You're not out there, doing these deals that are super, super risky. And the thing that you want to consider when you're making your decision every day of where you're going and what you're doing you are a venture capitalist. When you become an entrepreneur, you are a venture capitalist, and you're just investing your time. You're deciding, if you decide to invest in a startup, then you're deciding to invest your time into that startup like a venture capitalist would. You're investing your money, which, really time is money anyways, into that. But the biggest downside is the odds are heavily, heavily against you. Sequoia Capital knows that 90% of their business are going to fail, and they can hook up anybody that they work with Salesforce, if it's a B2B company, to get access to their customers, or Snapchat or Facebook. Like, they have an amazing Rolodex, but very consistently their businesses still fail. It's no wonder that so many people are out there bouncing from program to program and very frustrated because they haven't made money. And it's in a game where even the most sophisticated people don't make money. And you compare that to private equity, where if you know how it works, you know how to do it, you can just go out and do it. It's not some kind of magical thing where you got to figure out, oh, is this going to be around? And now I got to do a Snapchat course, and I got to do my Periscope course, and now that's gone. And now I got to do Facebook ads, and it's going to be too expensive, so I got to find something to replace that. And it's just never ending in that space, as opposed to finding something that's figured it out and learning the real skill set, which is how to take over those deals. So I'm passionate about this. I love it. It's a lot of fun. It's very cool to be back and doing more of these deals. It's funny when I think about me getting into my first deal, kind of after that, selling that, moving into some offline things. It was funny for me because I considered myself an entrepreneur as well. Like I said, like every book really talked about being an entrepreneur. I didn't see myself as a private equity guy or somebody who bought businesses or deal maker. I saw myself as an entrepreneur. And it wasn't until I tried to start a business from scratch that I realized how hard it was. And I realized, wow, I don't want to be an entrepreneur. This is miserable, but it still took me a while to figure that out. I bought one business, and it's a retail business, and we opened up another location. And quickly I started to realize some of the headaches. We had to find the right location and pray that was a good one. Then we had to make a deposit on the location and start to pay the lease. Then we had to get the fixtures and put all that in and hire the contractors. Then eventually we had to buy the inventory to put in. Then I had to hire the employees, and all this is money just going out. And I'm used to closing a deal, and the next day I will end up making money. The next day that I'm buying something. So as soon as I become the owner, that money starts coming to me. So I was like, oh, you know what it is? It's offline business. I don't want to start an offline business, but I want to start an internet business. So I started building a content business. And it was an online business. And again, that, same thing, had to find some people to help me build it, spend the money to get it built. All the work that goes in, start to market it, realize that the marketing isn't converting. And, then it converted for a while, made a little money, it went back down, and I'm thinking, oh man, well, maybe it's just that idea. And sure enough, I was able to continue kind of down this path for a while because I did buy businesses that were paying me every single month, but I wasn't smart enough to realize, like, hey, just go and do some more of these deals, take the money that you're making, stop throwing it away on this other stuff, and go find more income to buy. And I was very fortunate that it was about that time I ran into a guy who became my mentor, and he was a guy that flipped hospitals, which, was just unbelievable to me. It's like, wait a minute, I thought I was doing something buying and selling businesses, but you actually buy and flip hospitals. Like, wow, that was mind-blowing to me, especially as a 25-year-old kid to learn about that. And so I was really, really fortunate that he was willing to spend some time with me. And I started to tell him like I was selling a business, I was going to have some cash, and I was thinking, man, I'm going to take this cash, I'm going to put it into one of these startup businesses. And I was up in his office, and I can vividly remember, I'm at one end of his conference table, he's at the other, and I'm passionately telling him about my idea for this startup. And the whole time he was looking very unimpressed. And I'm thinking, he doesn't really get it. Let me get even more passion. Let me really give him the details and break it down. And so at the end, I'm like, okay, this guy is impossible to impress. And I kind of handed it. I was like, so what do you think about my idea? He let me wrap up, and I sat there and I was like waiting for him to say something. And he asked me a very simple question. It had nothing to do with the business. He asked me, where did you get that laptop? And I was like, huh? He was like, yeah, what kind of laptop is it? So it's like, it's a Dell. Just thinking like, are you serious right now? Like, why are we gonna talk about my laptop? It's like, so you bought that laptop from Dell? I'm like, yeah, it's from Dell. It's like, you gotta just talk about, well, a laptop? Are you looking for a laptop? What's going on? And he responded like, why did you buy from them instead of building a laptop yourself? You could have built the laptop exactly the way that you wanted it. I'm like, no, I don't know how to build laptops. It's like, well, you could have went, all the information is online. You can definitely figure that out. Like, yeah, but I don't even know where to get the parts and stuff. It's like, yeah, you can go online and get all that as well. And I started to realize kind of where he was going. And the bottom line and what he talked to me about after that was a realization that was huge for me. Is that, 90% of people aren't going to build their own house because it's not their goal. They want a home. 99% of people are never going to build their own car. And even, going back to the house thing, most people do build their own house. After they do it once, they're like, oh my God, I never want to do that again. Hopefully we stay here. If we move, we're buying a house. But same thing with cars, same thing like I mentioned, laptops. Just people in general, when we want something, we realize it doesn't make sense for us to build it from scratch. There's somebody out there already has it. If I want to ride somewhere, I don't need to build a car to get there. I need to go buy a car and take advantage of what somebody else has built. It's a lot quicker, it's easier, it's less stress. And that's the thing that makes the most sense when things are already out there. So if I don't have the money to buy the house, I figure out how to get the money. If I don't have the money to get the car and just go write a check for the car, I figure out how to get that. And it's the same thing with a business. It doesn't make sense to go out and do that from scratch. So it was obvious once I really got it. And his whole thing was the quickest path to get anywhere is a straight line. And that's what I want you guys to remember. The quickest path to get anywhere is just a straight line. We want to complicate things because we think that's cool. We want to become, it's like, and it allows us to really step back and not really doing things like, oh, well, before I start, I want to become an e-commerce expert. I want to become an online marketing expert. And you get the shiny object as opposed to just saying, I need to figure out how to get the money pulled together to go out and buy the income I need so I can have the freedom that I want in my life. So as soon as you start deviating from the straight line, you're complicating things unnecessarily, and you're gonna for the most part either get lucky and happen to zigzag into something which is the same as playing the lottery, or you eventually end up frustrated and working in the job for the rest of your life. So the crazy thing is the statistics that we don't know about starting a business is even kind of a bigger deal than the ones that we do know. So we know that the majority of businesses to start from scratch are going to end up failing. And so we know that. And so those people are able to get in and get out. The thing that isn't statistically kind of kept track of is the number of people that are entrepreneurs that are in that kind of successful category that are really living a nightmare. And I talk to a lot of these people because a lot of times they come to me and they want to sell us their business because they're trying to get out of it. They've poured all their energy, time, and their money, and they're starting to make some money, but they're still having to work like crazy and keep up with everything. They're on the treadmill. It's going too fast for them. They're trying to get off. And those people aren't even being tracked. And like I said, like we have a lot of those people who reach out to us to try to sell their business. We're like, hey, no, this isn't a business that we want to buy. And we move on to the person that really does have that dream business, which is a lot smaller percentage. Fortunately, we're in a space where there's not a lot of competition because everybody's off trying to become that entrepreneur and start something from scratch instead of trying to figure out the skill set of putting these deals together and buying the income. So the statistic is way, way worse of the actually truly successful entrepreneurs than any of us have any idea. And unfortunately, I talk to those folks, and I also unfortunately have to most of the time tell them, no, it's not a business that we would be interested in. So, I realized after all of this that I did not want to be an entrepreneur. I had to go through a lot of things, but it became very clear that the thing that made the most sense was buying businesses. So I started buying more online businesses again about 9 years ago, and started to recognize this opportunity that there was just an inefficiency in the market where the return on these things is just so abnormally higher than any other deals, and the profit margin is way higher. So there's nowhere else where you can buy a business that's real and makes money and has a 90% profit margin. We buy those businesses all the time that are online. It just is absolutely crazy. So I grew my number of businesses from 14 at that point to 37 businesses that are in the portfolio right now. This year, so far, in the last couple months, I'll say we've bought 4 more businesses. So we're growing that really, really quickly. And it's just amazing the number of great things that are coming to market. So right now out there's 7 million websites that are making money just from advertising. This isn't all the other income strategies like SaaS businesses or e-commerce businesses or any of that. There's 7 million that are generating income from advertising. So the thing that you've got to ask yourself, if you're looking for income, why not go to where the income already is instead of creating it from scratch? If you wouldn't, when you need a car, if you wouldn't go and do that from scratch, if you wouldn't try to sew your clothes from scratch, why are you trying to become an expert at building a business when even the greatest experts fail and try to do that from another perspective? So my goal at that point was to do more deals. I've done some coaching. I partner with people in a lot of different ways. We've done JVs, we've partnered with just individuals. And a few years back, I realized that there was this opportunity just to add to the bottom line of either businesses' income or household income by partnering with people, and then just leveraging my contacts and my staff to do the management that they were already doing for me. So I had a guy who had come across my stuff. He had sold an offline business. He was thinking about buying another offline business. We chatted. He started to do some research. He came back to me and he said, hey, I don't really want to learn how to do this myself. I want to partner with you, and we go out, I'll buy the site and we'll split the money 50-50. So we got a deal. We found a business that was $150,000. We ended up buying that business, and we took care of all the work, growing it and making sure that the business was sustainable long term. We also obviously found the deal. We did the due diligence, and we've got a great track record with our due diligence. So he put up the 150 in exchange for that. And we started to send him quarterly checks based on the income that was coming in, and he referred me to another guy, and that guy, we ended up doing a site, and he said, hey, I don't want the money each quarter. I want to take the money and reinvest it and do more deals. And I'm like, yeah, that you really get this whole snowball income. And so the idea behind that is that you're taking the income each month that you're making, and eventually you're getting enough to go out and buy the next deal, especially if you combine that with some outside income. So you get a small deal. And one of the beautiful things about this whole space is that you can buy a business that's $30,000. Unlike offline business, you can buy a business that's $30,000 that is making money and could have an amazing 80, 90% profit margin. And you get to take that and you can put it towards another deal, and you can put some additional money in so that 6 months later or a year later, you're buying another deal. And now you got two deals that are making money. And then you take the income from both of those and you buy the next one. And now you've got three that are generating income. And so you can start to see how with each one that you do, you're generating more money and you're adding to what you're able to buy when you get the next one. It's a very powerful strategy. And it's really one where even when you get any deal or you are in a business right now that you've started or whatever, I feel like just like with the major companies that are out there, you should have a percentage of your income that is set aside to go and buy more income. Because that's the most important thing in your business. So if you're going to buy anything, then you should have something where you're buying a little more income before you're spending. So what ended up taking place is something that was great, especially once we started this fund, is that we've developed a management company to manage my deals and our partners' deals. And now it's grown even more because that team of people in my network are managing the deals that we're buying in the larger fund. So we focus on five things. I mean, we find the deals. The income partner will fund the deal. We help you access more funds. So we have partners, we have some banks, we have investors that will lend on our deals because they've looked at our history and they've looked at our track record and they've inspected kind of the numbers and basically decided, hey, I would love to do loans to your people. As long as they buy a deal that you're interested in, then and they've got some skin in the game, then we'll do a loan on those. So with combining those different options, we help you access more money. And then we even cover 25% of the purchase price. So if you're buying a $100,000 deal, we're going to cover 25%. And unlike with the first people that I partnered with, where they put up all of the money, and then in return, we still only get that 50%. So you get 50% of income, you get access to our lending partners and all of that. And then you get which is a pretty neat process. You get a 25% from us. And I've just always felt like if you're gonna get people in something, one of the things about this is we're not charging up front for this. And we want to make money alongside of you. We want to buy more deals. So anytime you're doing something with somebody, there are a couple things that are important to me. Number one is that the person is really making the lion's share of their money doing what they're talking about, not making money off of talking about what they're talking about. So when I'm on this call, I mean, the larger amount of my money comes from obviously the fund that we're managing, my over 30 deals, some of the deals I'm partnered with and other people. It doesn't come from me going around and talking about doing this. I'm not spending a ton of time doing that. I'm spending time looking for deals, generating deal flow, doing due diligence, managing the businesses that we've got, and walking other folks and helping them buy deals as well. So all of my money is generating that. And then with the folks that come in, obviously you've got to be bringing money to the table. And then we work together, and then I bring my resources and money to the table, and we basically together will go in and do the deal. And that's where I would be really excited to work with somebody, and where I feel like it makes it a pretty win-win. In addition to a couple other things, so we manage and grow the site. We've got an amazing team of not just people that work for me, but even just our network. I mean, we've worked with we've had to find, the last 18 years, the best folks in SEO, the best folks in doing Facebook marketing. And we've tested a bunch of people. And one of the biggest pains with this stuff is that if you buy a business and you do hire the wrong person, now you've got to fire that person. You've wasted this time. They may have messed up your site, and you're going to have to go to the next person that can do the same thing. So you don't know. So we've done a lot of that work for you and had the bad apples and had to make mistakes on our sites and, gone through those issues so that you don't have to. And, one of the things that a lot of people come to me like, hey, can you teach me this stuff? And it's like, dude, I've been doing this for 18 years. And it's not to say that I'm special. If I don't know a ton, I don't know too much to be able to just download that into your head and for that to even be worth my time to download that into your head, then I'm doing something wrong. Like, hopefully after 18 years, like, that knowledge is, it's just a ton and ton of knowledge that it's difficult to just say, oh, go out and do this. And it's the reason that I don't do a video course. It's the reason that I just don't believe, because I've seen people who I've walked through this stuff. I've actually helped them buy a deal. And then, I tell them like, hey, if you're going to do another one, you should come back and we'll talk about it. And I've had people who go off on their own, two in particular, who, if they hear this, they will definitely recognize. And in both cases, they came out as like, I don't know what I was thinking. I should have come back to you. And these are people that I was doing the one-on-one training. Is very, very intensive training that I just don't have time to do anymore, which is why I offered this partner program. But in both of those cases, they went out, they bought deals that went to zero. And the deals that we did together were very successful. But I was really the person making those decisions. And there's just a ton of knowledge that comes into this it makes it really, really difficult. And it's just the same thing. I mean, you wouldn't go to a brain surgeon and say, hey, man, I'm thinking about brain surgery. I know you studied this for 18 year and all that, but if you could just teach me some things over 6 months, and then I can go out and do brain surgery. I do not really encourage people with their own money to try to wing it at this stuff, because the average person doesn't have a 92% success rate like we do. The average person and it's not because we're special, it's just that the average person hasn't spent 18 years looking at 1,000 deals a year, closing 10 of those, making mistakes, having deals go bad, having to figure it out. And those are the things that, we kind of bring to the table. And because of that, what we're willing to do is actually give a guarantee. So with the folks that end up qualifying and work with us, we are going to give you a 15% return guarantee. So if something happens with the site, because out of 100, like on some of them it will. So we have this amazing track record, but if something happens, we will pay you a 15% return on your money until we get that site back to earning what it's supposed to, or we get your funds back, or whatever. So you have this kind of backstop guarantee where you'll get that kind of minimal amount on the cash you put out. We're only able to do that because we know, all right, based out of these number of deals, we'll have that. And we know that eventually, with the sites that we have had go bad, we're able to do the work and bring those back over time. It just is work, time, and money. So we give you that 15%, and that's a pretty sweet thing. And so at a minimum basis, you're going to be earning more than what the average return on any investment is going to be. So what we're building here is not entrepreneurs. Like I said, we're moving people from the E quadrant to becoming investors. We're building investors that are looking for an additional income or a replacement income. And so we come up with a path. We look at the deals, we get you into deals, we manage those deals, and then we send you checks, and we decide together on a high strategic level, like when do we want to sell this, or those kind of things. But we're not having to deal with, you're not having to deal with the day-to-day kind of management, and you're leveraging our funds resources. I mean, now we've got there's some really great people, some amazing SEO people, amazing people in each aspect of managing these deals that bring a skill set to the table that would be very difficult to pull together if you only have one deal and you're going out and buying something for a couple $100,000. So you get to leverage some amazing expertise that is only coming to the table because we do have a multi-million-dollar fund and we've built relationships over 18 years. The other thing is you're getting some increased exposure for deals. So when it comes to buying these deals, it's just like anything else. The very best deal for anything is never gonna be advertised, guys. If somebody's got a brand new Rolls Royce and they're like, "Hey, I need to get rid of this tomorrow. I got a $50,000 debt from the IRS. They're coming after me, and I'm going to sell this thing at 1/5 of its actual value." They don't need to advertise that. They don't need to go through the newspaper. They don't need to get on Craigslist. Like, they call up a couple friends, and just through that, somebody's going to buy it. Well, it's the same thing with businesses. The very best deals aren't going to be advertised. They've come through a lot of the work that I've done doing the over 100 podcast interviews and blogs and networking with people that deal, just on the phone, 9 o'clock at night on a Friday night. Everybody else is out kicking it and having fun. I'm on the phone with some amazing builders of affiliate sites over in Asia because it's 9 a.m. their time, building that relationship because I've seen like, man, y'all had a couple things you brought over. Like, we need to start doing some more stuff together. So you get access to those opportunities. We get deals, just everything that comes to market, we see before it comes to market typically. And more importantly, I don't want to do deals that are on the market, quite honestly. And this is something that's just, again, why I don't encourage people who don't really know what they're doing and aren't in the know to do these deals. One example is, what a lot of people don't know is that there are people all over the world, specifically Vietnam. There's a big sale of folks. Nigeria, there's a big sale, and they're going to brokers that are just freely given out. So if you go to and you see a deal on the market, and you ask for a prospectus, and they just send you that prospectus, pretty much guaranteed that some hacker out there has also gotten that prospectus, and they are now duplicating that site. So anytime you could sign an NDA, just get a prospectus. That prospectus is going to somebody who has everything they need to be able to duplicate that. Because the biggest moat around these businesses is really just the fact that there are billion websites out there and nobody knows which one's making money. Nobody knows which niche is profitable. Nobody knows, if that niche is profitable, what they did to get the site ranked, or how they're advertising it. If it's e-commerce, where they're getting the product from, what the margin is, all of these things. It's not a big deal if it's offline business. If you've got a restaurant or whatever, and I want to do hamburgers right across the street, and you're doing hamburgers, I got to spend a bunch of money. But the cost for internet deals isn't money, it's just the time and knowledge. And so as soon as somebody has taken the time and they've built up something, they have the knowledge, and then you release that information to somebody else just by signing an NDA, and that person can now jumpstart and compete with that site immediately by buying a similar domain for $10, building a similar website for a few $100, and they're now competing with you. And it's not the seller that's going to suffer, it's the buyer who all of a sudden there's another site, and it may not take the business to zero, but if it takes 30-40% of your income, guess what? You just paid way too much for that business. Another example is just being plugged in. Unfortunately, there have been a lot of people that in the last couple months didn't know that Amazon was about to update their commissions. And I've talked to a couple people that bought sites who were making money from Amazon commission. And in some cases, they cut in half what the affiliate commission is that they're going to be paying out is going to be. And really, unfortunately, what that means is that people that just bought a deal a couple of weeks ago, because this announcement was just made on Thursday, and they were smart. They just like made the announcement like it's happening in the week, and no, didn't leave a lot of time for people to complain. Anybody who did one of those deals just 2 weeks ago saw their money cut in half. The value of the site that they bought just 2 weeks ago, or even a few days before this call I'm doing right now, now saw the value of that site cut, and literally 50% of their money just disappeared. They bought a $300,000 site, $200,000 site, and I saw these being sold while, I knew I was kind of holding off. I knew this was coming down, and I just keep track of everything that's on the market, even though we don't do a lot of deals there. Just I want to see what's selling, what demand is, and all that. And I saw these things selling one after another. I'm like, oh man. And I didn't know exactly what the percentage was going to be. I just knew, hey, this is up in the air. It's not a wise thing to buy this right now. And so it could have been good news. It was just some rumbling that something was coming. And I'm thinking, man, these guys don't know which way it's going to go. And sure enough, some of those people saw their literally 50% of their money disappear. But these are the things, if you're not doing this stuff full time, it's just not worth doing, guys. So it's an amazing opportunity. Everything comes with pros and cons. The income that can be generated is unbelievable. The returns that are being generated are unbelievable. And the opportunity to be able to snowball your income and replace your working income is the most systematic that I think is in the market right now. There's nowhere else that you can really go and be able to just systematically replace your income. Back in the day, you had to work for those 30 years. And all this does is not saying don't work, don't have any money, but like take the money that you do have, and now in 3 or 4 years, you can legitimately, and we, again, check out YouTube. These are real people that it's there. We will go out, do these deals, partner with you, help you get the capital so that you can get these great returns. The other thing that I love about this is that there's stability in the income, with the average deal that we're doing. And I like talking about the failures because I love our failure rate is so low. But the truth is, the average deal, when you talk about the real averages, it's just a very, very stable income. And that's what we're all looking for. While I was in the Caribbean, chilling for 2 years, my income was very stable. My team continued to manage things. I had checks coming in and being deposited in my bank. And that was a very good feeling that, I could wake up. I didn't really have to work. I do what I want to do and still make the income that I needed to. The other thing I love is that it's pretty quick. So that you start making money, we do the deal and it starts generating money immediately. Now, we want to have some reserve. So a lot of times what we do, we take the first 30 days of income and we will basically have that as reserve just for expenses and things like that. And a lot of times we want to make some improvements for pretty quickly to the site. Most of the time we see a few things where we're like, all right, let's go ahead and fix this and change that and all of that. But as soon as that 30-day period is over, you're making money. And so you compare that to, going out and having some course where you got to spend 30, 60 days just learning the strategy. And then 90% of the people in all of those courses just never really turn into making any money. So I really feel like when you compare that whole statistic of the 50-1 scenario, $1 billion private equity funds to $1 billion venture capital funds, it's really the same for us. I mean, I've trained way, way less people than most of like the so-called guru type folks out there because I don't even advertise. But when people come to us, we've got way, way more case studies, way more testimonials, way more successful people out there making money every single month than these other guys because it's the 50-1. We're doing something that, we're taking over income. We're learning a different skill set that not everybody's learning. And that allows us to have a more systematic return as opposed to the venture capital thing, which is basically kind of playing the lottery as smartly as you can. So it's awesome to be able to get in something and immediately 30 days later start generating income. The other big benefit, like I mentioned before, 25% of the deal is coming from us. So we are not just advisors, we've got the chops to just come in and be paid as advisors. But, we're saying, hey, we'll put money behind that, behind this whole thing. And so 25% of the deal is going to come from us. And then the last big benefit is we're going to help you raise capital. We've got lenders that will lend. We've got relationships with folks that love what we do. And, as long as you bring the most of the capital to the table, we're going to get you what you need to get into the deal. And, even when we go to banks, like you walk into a bank saying you want to borrow some money to get a website, most of the folks are going to laugh at you. So you got to know how to put these things together. We have worked with some banks, but, I love working with our individual lenders to get what we're doing. And, in addition to us bringing 25%, that makes it a pretty great deal for you. So, we want you to bring a good amount, and we're saying that amount is really light for people to have 25,000 liquid, because we also want you to have some diversification and that kind of thing. So the other neat thing, and one thing I'll say real quick is that I have worked with so many people that get excited about something like the FBA thing or dropshipping or some of these other things. They put 25, 30,000, whether it's, doing FBA, they're putting 25 grand into inventory that never sells, or doing promotions and spending money on a dropship, and they never end up making money. And so the thing here is like, we don't sell a dream, it's about selling something real that is systematic, but it's not about pie in the sky either. It's not about, 25,000, you're going to make $1 million next week, like some of these other guys will sell. No, we're going to have a plan, and we want to walk you through and get real deals and make an amazing return. And if you're making 40% instead of 8 or 10, like in the stock market, then guess what? Your retirement, if you're making 4 times what you're making right now, then your retirement is going to come 4 times quicker. So it is about working and saving money and having all that stuff there, but you're leveraging it at a different point. So other neat thing is, you're able to use 401k and self-directed IRAs and that kind of thing, and we can walk you through that process. We talked a little bit about our large network of people. I mean, we just got some really action-oriented people as well that I've helped get into the deals that are experts at different things. When we're talking about FBA, for example, we have a guy that we work with that was with Amazon when and a part of helping create this FBA program. I mean, what FBA is. So, and he realized, he was like, man, I think I'm on the wrong side of this. He saw these people creating these businesses and all that, and went out and built his own $1 million business, and then realized like, hey, instead of me trying to build these myself, why don't I come alongside Ace and leverage my expertise and, help grow some of these other ones and get some equity that way. So these kind of people are there, and it makes a big difference, and even knowing things like, hey, there's something coming down the pipe at Amazon that could really change everything, and seeing everybody else just kind of doesn't have that knowledge. These are the things that are just quite honestly priceless when you consider that you could lose 50% of your money in a couple of days. So we've seen historically 90% of people that we work with just end up getting at least one deal. Everybody that goes into this, they're really action oriented, but we also have a lot of folks that come back to us and they are looking for multiple deals, and that's really kind of the folks that we are looking to work with, because a big key around this is diversification, and that's what kind of secures you, because you can still have these crazy things that happen a year, but if you've got a good diversified portfolio that's properly diversified, and there are 3 levels of diversification. One is at the business model level. The next is at the niche level. You don't want a bunch of things in the same niche. And then the other is kind of the capital, the source level. So it's the income source. The income source and the traffic source. So you want to make sure you've got different business models. You want to make sure you've got some different niches, and then you want to make sure that you've got a different source of income. Not all your money should come from Google. Not all your money, not all your money should come from Amazon. Not all your traffic should come from this source or that source. And so that's what we are looking for when we build these deals, and start to build your portfolio. So, as an example, if we did a fashion blog, we wouldn't want to then go and do a beauty blog. We want to have that kind of thing. Now, the neat thing is we do have a big network of folks where you can do cross promotion. So while in your portfolio, you don't want to have a bunch of those fashion things, we've got other people that have fashion blogs. So now we can basically kind of cross promote those two. And this is the thing that really sets this whole thing apart from anything else for just kind of going it on your own. What we're able to do is we get to kind of play around and connect all the people that are in our network. And, let's say a site goes down, and this is a part of kind of the guarantee. Like, if we know you've got this fashion blog and maybe it's starting to take a dip, we can now go and get it promoted by somebody else in the network that has a fashion blog, kind of bring that back up, or trade links, or shoot emails, cross promote through email. And so all of that gives you another layer of safety in the network effect. So the bottom line here is, instead of trying to, when you look at the complexity of all this, instead of trying to start something from scratch, what I prefer is going out, finding something that's already profitable, making a great deal with that owner buyer firm. And, I've learned this lesson from the mentor that I talked about earlier, but it's just been reiterated as I've seen in other people who may be a big flash in the pan, and if things go wrong and they don't have that diversified portfolio and all these things that are important as well. Because even if you do start that single successful business, anything can happen. So you start that single successful business. You either got to go back, start from scratch, and try to do all that work again just to have two, or you learn how to quickly build a portfolio so that you actually have some income safety. So, who is this whole thing for? This is for folks that have tried some things and they're ready for something that's actually going to work. It is for folks that do have some capital. It's not for people that are like, oh, I'm completely broke. If you don't have any capital, I would recommend going out, just working and getting some capital. I was 19 when I came up with at least, $3,000 to leverage into my first deal. And I had some good credit. So between, $3,000 and some good credit, I was able to use credit card on my first deal and take that thing down, and it changed my life. So you got to be able to at least think creatively about coming up with the capital you need to get in the game. We'll come alongside you and help put the rest of it together. So we've got a lot of people that come to this. They've tried to start things from scratch, never made a dime. Those are folks that really appreciate it. I actually prefer the people who've gone through these other programs and realize, like, oh crap, this is a bunch of work, because those are the people that appreciate this the most. So if you're somebody who's really serious about doing something and you enjoy kind of learning by watching it and actually doing something, as opposed to somebody who's looking to join another course, this isn't another course. We're going to go out and we're going to buy deals for you, and we're going to help you. So that's what we're doing here. So that sounds like you, then this is a good fit. All right. Awesome to see a lot of folks staying on. Let's see who all we got here. What's up, Frederick? Great to have you. Arturo, thanks for joining. Elijah Day, got some folks on the phone. Kat, thank you so much for being here. This is going to be recorded. Got one message asking if it would be recorded. Absolutely. So let's talk about some of the testimonials, and then we'll kind of go with what the next steps are. So one of the things that, again, I would encourage you to do is check out the testimonial case study page on my YouTube channel. Every time I start to work with, where are we trying to go? Because a lot of people don't have any clarity on what their goal is, and it's kind of unfortunate because they end up chasing things and then end up unhappy in the end because they don't end up with the right thing. So, one of the guys that I'm very, very proud of, it's been a lot of joy to work with that I didn't talk about earlier, is a guy named Bernard. We helped him get into a business in a teeth white niche. And it's been awesome to watch him really snowball in an incredible way. He got the first deal, then got into another e-commerce deal in the fashion industry, then basically snowballed back to partner with me on and this is somebody who started literally with very, very little, I think probably about 25, 30,000. But through that snowball, starting from, it's been about 18 months, now has just closed partnering with us on a $800,000 deal. So from 25,000 and just doing like $100,000 deal to, basically with the 25,000, he was able to borrow another 50. We were able to, just like we talked about, get the 100, and that got him his first deal. Then he started to make some money. Then got into another deal, and he's using his expertise as well. So eventually leveraged into a $800,000 deal. So if you're somebody, he worked the whole time, and so he was saving some money in addition the whole way, putting that with the money that was coming in, and all of that made it a lot easier to actually pull off. Again, I must, as a disclaimer, say that does not mean you're going to turn 25,000 into 800,000. It is just an example of somebody who we have worked with who did end up doing really well. Got a neat guy that was a lot of fun to. Actually, we need to throw a female in there. So let's talk about who. So about Jocelyn. Jocelyn was great. Another one, we did 401k with her. Another amazing case of getting into a deal, and it was one that did end up growing quite a bit. So absolutely check those out. So next steps on this. So for you folks that are interested in all of this stuff, you can go to theincomeprogram.com, check out theincomeprogram.com, fill out that application there, and then we'll get in contact with you. We'll kind of answer questions. We'll go through all of that. And if we feel like you're a good match, we'll work together. We'll go out. We'll give you access to our deal flow and help you buy deals, do everything that we talked about here. And just like we talked about, the benefits I feel like are pretty simple. At the end of the day, getting access to our deal flow. We are actually bringing some of our resources to the table, connections to the table, and covering 25% of the purchase price. And then we manage and grow the deal and send you a check each month, which, in a lot of y'all's cases, you'll kind of bring back and we'll go out and do the next deal. And then we split the income 50-50. So that is what we have been up to. And I thank you guys so much for jumping on. This has been really amazing. Oh, we got a question here. So somebody is asking about, with the borrowing of funds, how does that work? So we've got a network of investors and lenders that, like I said, they've looked at our track record, they've looked at the deals, and they're comfortable lending as long as you're kind of a part of our process. We're doing the due diligence, the deal that we're going to manage. And, it's kind of a neat investment for them as well, because they've got some good safety things in place. but it's a great deal for you as well because you end up being able to get into a deal that is making a great return and do it with leverage as well, which at the end of the day just increases your return. What size deals? That's a great question. So the businesses that we're really focused on are going to be on the low end about 30,000, on the high end about 300,000. So somewhere in that kind of 30 to your 25 to 250, but in that general range is really what you want to be. All right. How much money should you have? So when it comes to the amount of funds, we can make things work with a lower amount. The more you're going to be able to diversify really quickly, and that's what we really want to do. We want to come with a plan. So it's not to say that you have 100 grand and we're going to spend all of that on a single deal. That's really not ideal. So if you've got 100 grand, we want to split that between a couple of different. So between again us putting money in and lender and all that, we can at least get a couple of deals. Obviously, if it's on the lower end, 25,000 or so, we're going to get you into a single deal. And the thing that I will say is, if you if you're coming in and you're looking and considering this whole thing, we're not charging money unless you make money. So it's not something where it's like, oh, come and give me 25,000. Like, there are programs out there that charge 25,000. It's just crazy. And then you got to go do the work to make any money. So we only are making money on this thing when you make money. We're not saying, oh, give me some money and then go do this. I quite honestly, just to give you an idea, just for my one-on-one coaching program, which I don't even offer anymore because it wasn't even worth me doing the 25,000. That was $25,000 just to work with me one-on-one. So Arturo's asking about the investment range. Fill out the application. Tell me where you are, Arturo. Like I said, the lowest deal we want to do is 30. It does mean that you can have less than 25 and still pull it off. But we just want to make sure that this is a good fit for you. So fill out the application and then we'll absolutely go from there. And this is great for people that know they want to be a deal maker, they want to kind of move to that investor quadrant and maybe are have a job right now, they're able to save a little bit and invest more over time. So those are all the things that come into play. But once you put in your info, we'll contact you, we'll go over some of the details, and then just make sure that it's the right thing for you. We're not trying to partner with everybody. We want to get the right folks, and it's an amazing opportunity, and you'll be able to have some input on the deal that you do. So that's another thing that I think is important to understand. This is something where we're like, okay, this is the deal that you're going to buy. That's it. Obviously we're doing a 15% guarantee. So we're guaranteeing that we're not going to let this thing go to zero. You are going to get your money back. So if we're going to do that, then we are going to have a say as well. We're going to really decide. We're going to give you like, hey, here are the options to buy from. But we can also go out and try to find deals that are a good match for you. So if you're saying like, hey, I've got one guy who's in the program who's got a big database of people that are in a certain health niche. And so, he wants to be able to leverage that in the deal which is great for both of us. It's win-win. If he's got some assets, we've got some resources and assets, then, we can find the right deal and partner together. But at the end of the day, we are guaranteeing it. So we'll have a say, you'll have a say, we'll work together to find the right deal. So our minimum is cash amounts is probably about 15 is the absolute minimum. You need to be able to get access to that somewhere. But the minimum deal is 30, and ideally, we want you to have about 25. Perfect, guys. Well, this has been amazing. I love jumping on these things. Thank you for coming on and staying on. This has been a longer than I anticipated, but I appreciate you guys staying on this whole time. I don't think anybody left yet. So if you're interested in the program, check out theincomeprogram.com. Fill out that application. And we'll be back in touch with you. We'll schedule a call. We'll sit down with you, kind of walk through a strategy that's targeted around your long-term goals, and we'll start kind of building some deals, sending you some options, and getting feedback from you. Oh, thank you, man. Thank you for jumping on. So thank you guys so much. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I look forward to connecting with each of you one-on-one.